Hello everyone, this is Carol. Today I want to talk about treating cluttering and especially for treating cluttering at a school setting. Okay, so let's start with my clients. This quarter I have a fluency group with a 4th grader and a 5th grader. For my 4th grader, he has both stuttering and cluttering, and for my fifth grader, he only has a diagnosis of cluttering. So currently, they have different goals. For my fluency 4th grader clients, his goal is mainly focusing on fluency strategy, and he will use a preferred fluency enhancing strategy at a sentence level given moderate verbal cues. For my 5th grader, he will identify examples of cluttering in the clinician speech or when listening to recordings in 4 out of 5 attempts. So we focus on these goals for a couple of weeks. However, they are not really making progress. So in a structured activities, they're doing excellent. They're using their fluent strategies, they're talking slowly, so they focused on their own speech. However, they're not really generalizing them in their spontaneous speech. So we figure out the key point is they are not really having awareness. They are not aware that they are talking too fast, they're overly repeating themselves, and they're not aware that they need to use these strategies in their spontaneous speech to add pauses and talking slowly. And let's talk a little bit about the cluttering characteristics. So the first key point is for people who clutters, they're not having awareness about how they talk. And usually they're talking in a fast rate, they're adding inappropriate breaks, they're over-articulating or under-articulating a particular sounds, there tends to have monotone speech, and they're having excessive disfluencies. And for my own clients, they mainly have revisions of phrases. Okay, so we're making a new plan, and we decided to start with awareness. And the first part is education. We have a free talk session, and I get back listening to the recording, and I try to clip my recording and edit them. So I mainly did 2 things. The first thing is I play around with their speed. I adding a 1.5 times, 2 times speed, and I slowing down the recordings. The second things I did is I removed some pauses within a words, or if there is emphasis on a particular sound, I would remove the pauses within a word, try to mimic a fast rate of speech and a monotone speech. And when we get back to the session, we have them to listening to the recording and have them to rate the clarity of each clip. And then we take a closer look to the recording and decide the impact of speed and impact of pauses to the rate of the clarity. And then we connect these impacts back to the characteristics of cluttering. And during the session, we figure out in order to have a fluent speech, it's not necessary that we could never having a revision or stuttered our word. The more important thing is the slowing down our speech rate and adding more frequent pauses in between words and sentences. And our second step is talking about facial expressions, because for clutterers, they're more focused on people's verbal cues, such as you're talking too fast, can you slow it down, can you repeat yourself, but they're not necessarily looking at the nonverbal cues, like their facial expressions and their body languages. So in a couple of weeks, I focused on having them to identify the facial expressions and body languages of people through the pictures. So for example, in this picture, a man on the left, my students, they might mimic what the man is doing, but it's hard for them to talk about its facial expressions, for example, his eyes, his eyebrows, his mouth, and talking about his body languages. So I guide them through the process and we talk about the details of their faces. And then I have them to make their own confused face. So they can do whatever they want to make a confused face. They can just focus on their facial expressions, or they can add the body language to it. And then I have them to show their face to the peer, and we include these in our structured activities. So during the structured activities, when one student is talking, I have the other peer to focusing on his speech. And when he feels the student is talking too fast, he can use his preferred confused face to signal the other peer to slow it down or adding more pauses. And throughout the activities, we might just start with one sentence to describe the pictures and gradually increasing to a conversation about, for example, would you rather questions, a conversation about their summer plan. And our third activities, more advanced activities, which is the one we're currently working on, is during their conversation, I would show a face when I feel that they are talking too fast or they're not adding enough pauses. So in the beginning of the session, sometimes when I'm really exaggerating my facial expressions or I'm getting really close to them, but they could not figure out that I was giving them a nonverbal cues, and I have to remind them verbally. But throughout the process, sometimes when I'm getting really close to them, they can figure out, oh, I need to add a pause, I need to slow down myself. So I think it is a new goal that we can keep working on for a couple more weeks. And here is our new goal. By improving their awareness, our end goal is having them naturally incorporating the fluency strategy in their conversation by slowing down their speech and adding more pauses, or just taking more frequent breaths throughout the conversation. And here is the process I found that worked somehow well for my two students, but I'm really welcoming more ideas. If you have more ideas and different ideas, feel free to tell me and we can try it in the future. Thank you so much.